welcome over here to this new Instant Pot recipes video. I'm really excited to be sharing this one with you because none of these recipes cook for longer than 20 minutes in your Instant Pot. So if you are busy like me, these recipes are perfect. If you are new to the Instant Pot, I do have a few other Instant Pot recipe videos on my channel, along with a video on how to use the Instant Pot. So I'll just link them in my description box below if you want to see them. But anyways, let's get to cooking. We're gonna start out by making this honey garlic chicken breast. I was only cooking for Brindley and myself on that night, so I only used one chicken breast, but use more depending on your preference. I just salted and peppered my chicken breast in my Instant Pot. Now we're going to make the delicious sauce. So into this bowl, I added 1/3 cup of some honey along with 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of some onion flakes, or you could just chop up 1 fresh onion. I just didn't have any onion on hand, so that's why I used the onion flakes. You're also going to want to add in 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger and garlic, and then 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/4 cup of ketchup. It's kind of a lot of stuff, but this is so yummy, and a lot of these ingredients I already had on hand, so it's just a simple recipe. Anyways, I'm just going to mix this all together. Back over to my Instant Pot with my one lonely chicken breast in there. I just poured the sauce right on top of that, and then I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of water directly on top. You're going to place your Instant Pot lid on, set it to sealing. This is going to cook on high pressure for 15 minutes with a quick release in the end. Now that I have my chicken all cooked through, I'm just going to remove it to a separate cutting board, and in this bowl I have a quick little cornstarch slurry. It's just 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 3 tablespoons of water that I whisked together, and then I just added it to my Instant Pot, turned my Instant Pot onto the saute function, and I'm going to whisk this together to make it thicken. While that's trying to thicken in my Instant Pot, I'm just going to cut up my chicken. You could either shred it or cut it like this. I was just feeling like cutting it, so that's what I did on this night. I'm just going to go back over to my Instant Pot now that the sauce is thick, and I'm going to add my chicken right in there, stir it all together, and then it is ready to serve. Here is the finished product. I just served my chicken with some sesame seeds on top and some white rice. I also paired this with some steamed veggies. I just didn't happen to show the steamed veggies. But anyways, I loved this meal. The only thing I would do different next time is add more chicken so I could have leftovers for the next day. I don't know about you, but I really do love broccoli and cheese soup, so now that's what we're making. Onto my cutting board, I'm going to be cutting up 1 onion into smaller pieces, a head of broccoli, and I'm going to be shredding 3 carrots. To my Instant Pot with the saute function on, I added my 2 tablespoons of butter. Once that butter is melted down, I'm going to add all of our veggies that we just chopped, and then I'm going to stir these all together and let them cook for about 2 minutes. Now that those are through sauteing, I'm going to be adding about 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. I did turn the saute function off at this point. Now I'm adding in about 32 ounces of veggie broth, or you could use chicken broth, whatever your preference is. I'm going to give this a good stir. If there's any bits on the bottom of my Instant Pot, I'm going to scrape them off. I'm going to put the lid on, set it to sealing, and this is going to cook on high pressure for 4 minutes with a quick release. While I have our soup cooking, I'm going to whip up a cornstarch slurry. So for this cornstarch slurry, it's just 1/4 cup of cornstarch and 1/4 cup of water whisked together. Now that my soup is through cooking, I just removed the lid and I'm going to give this a quick whisk. Then I'll just be adding in our cornstarch slurry. I'm going to turn my Instant Pot back onto the saute function. I'm going to whisk this together for about a minute or 2, or until it starts to thicken. I turn the saute function off at this point because you don't want your milk to curdle. I just added in my 2 cups of heavy whipping cream along with my 3 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. I'm going to whisk this together until the cheese melts and everything warms through, and then it is ready to serve. Here is the finished product. This is my soup. Of course, I topped mine with some more salt, pepper, and cheese. My whole family enjoyed it, especially my little daughter, Brinley. She's about 1.5. I was surprised that she even liked it, but she loved it, so that was a win-win. Now we're going to be making another family favorite, Tuscan chicken pasta. We're going to start on the seasoning mix first. So into this bowl I added 1/4 teaspoon of salt and pepper, and then I'm going to be adding in a teaspoon of rosemary, thyme, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. It is a lot of seasoning, so if you don't care for any of these seasonings that I mentioned, you could leave 1 or 2 out and this is still going to taste delicious. I'm going to mix all of these seasonings together once I add them in. To my Instant Pot that I do have on the saute function, I'm just adding about 1.5 tablespoons of some olive oil. Once that gets hot, you're going to add your chicken breast. This is just 1 boneless, skinless chicken breast, about 1 pound. If I were to do this again, I would add about 2 chicken breasts just so it is more chickeny, but I only pulled 1 chicken breast out to thaw, so that's all I used. Anyways, I just added the seasoning to that and then cooked the chicken through and then removed it to a separate plate once it was cooked. Now I'm going to be adding an additional tablespoon of olive oil with 1 onion that I chopped into smaller pieces. I'm going to mix this all together and cook it up. If you want to add some garlic, you could add a couple cloves of garlic at that point. But now that my onion is translucent, I just added a cup of some sun-dried tomatoes and I'm going to mix this all together. This part's pretty important, so now that I just added in my 2 cups of chicken broth, I'm going to be scraping the bits off of the bottom of my pan. So you definitely have to do this with your Instant Pot because there's going to most likely be leftover bits, and if there are and you don't scrape them off, the burn sign will occur on your Instant Pot and it just won't cook your food. So make sure you do that. I just added back in our chicken along with our 2.5 cups of our shell pasta noodles. I'm not going to stir the noodles though, I just kind of placed them in there. You want to do that just so they don't burn to the bottom of your Instant Pot. So now I'm just adding 1 cup of evaporated milk in there. I'm going to make sure all of the noodles get down there in the liquid. If they're not completely in the liquid, just add some more chicken broth. I'm going to place the lid on top of this, set it to sealing, and cook this high pressure for 5 minutes. Here we are 5 minutes later with a quick release. I'm just going to give this a good stir, and then I'll be adding in my 8 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature that I did cube. You want to cube it just so it melts down easier. And then I'm going to be adding in my 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese. I'm going to stir this together and let everything melt down. Now that my pasta is nice and creamy, I just went ahead and added in my 3 cups of chopped up fresh spinach. I'm going to stir this together, and once it wilts down, it's ready to serve. If you don't care for spinach, you could just opt out of that. Anyways, here's my plate of food. I just topped mine with some fresh basil leaves and some more Parmesan cheese. This came out fabulous. My family enjoyed it, and this was a really quick Instant Pot recipe, and it has a ton of flavor. For a fun twist on a classic spaghetti and meatballs, we're going to begin. So in my Instant Pot, I have it on the saute function. I'm just adding about 1 tablespoon of some olive oil. Once that's hot, you're going to add 1 diced up onion and let that onion get soft. Now that my onion is soft, you're going to be adding your 2 cloves of garlic. You're going to stir it together until the garlic's fragrant, only for about 20 seconds because garlic does tend to burn quickly. At this point, I turned the saute function off, and now I'm going to be adding in our teaspoon of Italian seasoning and a little bit of some salt and pepper to taste. This is what makes this recipe so simple. We're using already made frozen meatballs. This is just about 1 pound of meatballs. I'm tossing into my Instant Pot, and then right on top of those meatballs, you're going to be adding about 12 ounces of pot-sized thin spaghetti. If you don't have the pot-sized thin spaghetti, just break your spaghetti noodles in half and it will work fine. On top of those noodles, I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of olive oil just to ensure that they don't stick. And now I'm going to be adding 24 ounces of this Prego marinara sauce. Just use 24 ounces of whatever type of marinara sauce you like though. And then right on top of that, I added about 3 to 3.5 cups of water, or just until the noodles get pretty much fully covered in that water. You don't really want them to stick out or they just won't cook on top. This cooks on high pressure for 9 minutes with a quick release, and here's the finished product. I just gave this a really good stir and then plated it up. I do want to mention, since this meal is pressure cooked, the meatballs are, of course, they're not going to be crisp like they would be fried or baked in the oven. The same with the noodles. The noodles have a slight texture change than what they would be like if you were to boil them. But anyways, this still came out delicious. Spaghetti and meatballs are one of my daughter's favorite foods. And that is a wrap of these Instant Pot recipes. I hope you found a recipe that you might be able to make yourself. As usual, if you have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments down below and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you are new here, we'd love to have you, so go ahead and subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.